Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Strategic Edge, Mastering Planning and Execution. I'm Akila. So I know there might be some of you who are new here, and so I want to share with you the whole idea behind this series. It's really to just be able to provide you with some tools and some strategies that you can use that would help you with your strategic planning and execution. And so whether it is that you lead a huge organization, or maybe you're new to leadership and you're trying to find your direction, or you can be an entrepreneur trying to make your mark in your chosen industry. Well, I just wanted to help you to be able to make the proper strategic moves. It shouldn't just be about big businesses either, or it shouldn't just be about people who've done it for years doing the strategic planning. You can do it too. I remember seeing an episode with even a family, a husband and wife team, who decided that the beginning of each year, they're going to make sure they do their own strategic planning for their family. So these tools that I'm sharing, it's in the same vein. So whether it is your family, or it is a major organization, or you're just getting started in your business, this is where you come to get some tools and some strategies that would help you with your strategic planning exercise. So let's get started. So here's the thing, we are already up to episode 7 in this series. So again, for those of you who are new here, you can go back and review the first 6 episodes. There are some very good nuggets that are in there that I know will be able to help you as you continue to do your own planning and execution. Now, on the last episode of Strategic Edge, we were actually looking at innovative thinking. It's all in the mind. It's all about how you cultivate a growth mindset, that type of information. But in this episode, we're going to look at what I consider to be the foundation that would allow innovation to actually be able to take place. And it's also, for me, one of the cornerstones of strategic planning. What am I talking about? The crucial world of financial strategies for growth. Every company wants to grow. So whether you're new, you want to be able to build that company from the ground up. Or if you've been there for some time, maybe there's some changes that you want to make, new markets you want to explore. It all starts with strategic planning. And if you're going to do strategic planning, you have to make sure you have the foundation necessary to do that. And that's in financial strategies for growth. So let's take a deeper dive into that. Now, here is something that you have to keep in mind. Every successful business rests on a foundation of solid financial planning. You can't do anything without making sure your finances are in order, right? There's nothing you can do without finances, right? That's the foundation. There's no growth, there's no expansion, there's no moving into new markets without knowing you have a foundation, a solid financial foundation. And even more important as you build out your strategies is making sure that the financial planning is an integral part of that strategy. You see, financial planning can't just be about making money. Of course we want to make money. Who doesn't, right? But in any organizations, you're pressed for resources, financial resources in particular. And so you have to be strategic with how you utilize that finance and those resources that you have in order for growth and sustainability of your business. Now, when we talk about financial strategies for growth, the thing is that the first thing that you need to understand is your financial health. How can you plan your finances if you don't even know where they are? Just like with anything else, you need to know where you're starting from. And so this means that for any business, or for you personally, it means analyzing your cash flow? What does your cash flow look like? What do you have on hand? How can you use what you have? You have to be able to, as a business, look at your profit margins. How are they looking? Up, down, steady? What am I trying to achieve, and why am I trying to achieve this with the profit margins that I have? You have to look at your expenses. Am I spending too much somewhere? Can I get these things or materials, the inputs, for cheaper? You have to look at your revenue streams. So if I want to expand and grow, what are my revenue streams? What am I actually making money on? Especially for businesses that have multiple streams of revenue. Which ones are bringing in the most profits? You have to understand all of it. Because the thing is, this information, knowing the health, what do I have to work with, is the starting point for any effective financial strategy. So once you understand the financial health of your organization, you know that first step we just talked about, what do you do with that information? Remember, what you're trying to do here is prepare yourself for growth. Financial strategies for growth. You have to know where you're going. And so the next step is to set clear financial goals. These goals should always be aligned with your overall business strategy. And you have to make sure they're realistic and ambitious. So start thinking about, what are my short-term objectives? What are my long-term objectives? And this will help you to determine, okay, so once I know what my short-term objectives are, my long-term objectives are, how am I going to get there? What are the financial resources that are required for me to get there? What changes do I need to make in my finances to get there? Then you start setting those clear financial goals to help you to begin to navigate your way through building strategies for growth. So now you understand your financial health and you've set your financial goals. What's next? Budgeting. You have to be able to do effective budgeting and resource allocations. That's going to be key. You have to make sure that your spending is aligned with your strategic priorities. You know, those objectives that you thought about as you set your financial goals. But when you create your budgets, you have to make sure that it aligns with that. So you're putting money into those areas that are going to provide you the benefits, the profits, the increase, the growth that you're hoping to achieve. Everything must be strategic in order for you to be able to achieve that growth. And you have to keep in your back of your head, you have to make every dollar count. Remember, finances are limited. It's a limited resource that we have. If we're not bringing in enough revenue and we're overspending, we don't have it to begin with. And so it's about making sure that you're placing your money, you're placing these resources where they can be most effective for your growth. So now you've allocated those resources, you've come up with your budget. Your budget has your high-level areas that you think aligns best with what you are trying to achieve. Now, taking that information, you're going to have to consider, how exactly am I going to invest in this growth? These are my line items in my budget. These are the high-level things that I need to achieve. But now bring it down to smaller levels. What are the things? What are those areas? What are those paths? What are those technologies, marketing, talent, whatever it is? What are those specifics that I need to be investing this budget line into? So if it is that, let's say for instance, that you are trying to create a new revenue stream, and so you want to be able to explore a different niche market and providing them with a different type of product than what you are already offering. How can you get there? What are the things that you need to be able to invest in? You already have it in your budget, new product development. But what are the small details that you need to think about? What are the things that are going to actually help you to achieve what you're trying to achieve? What new technologies can you think of that could improve on what you're trying to achieve? What about marketing? You have to change the way you market because you're trying to reach a different niche. Or it's a completely new product that persons aren't aware of that you now have to go and do a whole new marketing campaign for. Or you might not have the skill set to be able to go into that or to achieve that product line. So you might have to hire new talent. This is the small nitty-gritties that you just now have to consider. How am I going to invest this budgeted amount? What are the small things that I have to look at in order for me to be able to achieve what I'm trying to achieve? Because you have to keep in mind that strategic investments as well is the fuel for your future growth. You have to place your money, you have to invest those financial resources in the right things that would actually be able to help to achieve what you're trying to achieve, be it a new product line or new service offering or exploring new markets. Where do you invest that? It's already there in the budget. There's already a line item, but what are the small things that you have to do in order to be able to achieve that growth that you're looking for? Now, as we plan, whether it is the general strategic planning or you're looking at just the financial strategies for growth elements of your planning, every plan that you make, which is planning to make a move, whether it is growth, going into new markets or bringing online a new product or service, every plan comes with risk involved. And everything that you do as you try to move forward always comes with a risk, right? And so in your planning, you also have to be able to manage that risk. I remember in a few episodes previous, I would have spoken about taking calculated risk. Of course, that's what strategic planning is taking those calculated risks that are necessary for your growth, right? And for you to be able to increase and for you to be able to grow and expand. Same thing with financial strategies for growth as well. Where you're placing your money is important, but that also comes with some risk. So how are you managing that risk? You have to be able to identify those risks and have a contingency plan in place on how you're going to be able to overcome that risk. So this could include such things as diversifying your revenue streams. If you are one of those companies that you're just one thing, there's only one business, one income stream that your company focuses on. If you're trying to grow, you might want to consider, do I need to diversify my revenue streams? And if I'm going to diversify, how would that look? And what could possibly happen when I diversify my revenue streams? How am I going to make sure that I cushion myself for any falls? That is what risk management is all about. But then it's also important that you have emergency funds. So in your financial planning for growth, you always have to make sure that there's that catch me if I fall fund is what I like to call it, your emergency fund. So risk management and contingency planning as you financially grow your business, as you look for strategies to grow your business, is very. Now another area that's equally vital as you continue on your path to financial strategies for growth, as you continue building out your strategic plan, is to consider leveraging your financial data for decision making. Because you see, data is king. Now, with my IT background, I can recall being taught, especially in my data warehousing classes, that data is the most valuable asset of any organization. Let me tell you, having the right financial data will help you to make informed decisions. It helps you to be able to be on that right path. It helps you to understand what your numbers are telling you. It helps you to make data-driven decisions and not just, I think it might work or I feel good about it, but to have the data, the information that you need in order to know that if I take this step, this calculated risk, I could potentially see results based on what I saw in trends over time. If you're starting or considering a different revenue stream, I note that my customers, based on the data, they tend to ask about this other type of product or this other type of service. So that's a calculated risk I can take to introduce that product or introduce that service. But it is your data that will tell you that. So always bear in mind what I learned. Your data is one of your most valuable assets. I remember saying that one time in an interview, and the people in the room were looking at me like, your data? Not your people? But that's a whole other discussion that we can have at another time. We can debate it. I know those of us in the IT world will say, yeah, it really is your data. But that's because we're trained to think that way and not necessarily about human capital. Of course, your HR is important. Of course, your staff and the type of people you have working for is important. But when it comes down to decision making and growth, data is king. And now here's why I say leveraging that information is important, the data. Because knowing this data might be able to highlight for you the need for external funding in order for you to be able to achieve this growth. Think about it. Going through your numbers, I might be able to make up to this amount, but I'm gonna need help getting just a little over the edge. Your data will tell you that. But you should not worry too much about having to seek external funding. Everybody has to do it at some point. If you really want to be able to expand and grow, you do have to seek out funding and investments. So whether it's a loan, venture capital, or any other form of investment, the only thing that you have to keep in mind though is to make sure that whatever that investment is aligns with your long-term strategy. So don't go take out a loan with some type of credit terms that you will not be able to meet given your projections, or don't go down into a venture capital route that does not align with what you are trying to achieve. You also have to be mindful of the type of investment that you're making and make sure that it aligns with your long-term strategy as well. So seeking out funding and investments is also something that you would also have to consider as you financial strategies for growth begin to unfold. And so that's the information that I wanted to be able to share with you. The little strategies that you can use to ensure that you create a well-crafted financial strategy as part of your overall strategic plan. You just have to be reminded and remind yourself constantly that a well-crafted financial strategy is definitely your roadmap to success. This is what will guide your decisions and the actions that you take towards your sustainable growth. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I certainly hope that the information that I shared today was helpful. And I want you to make sure you come back next week, especially those of you who are new. Make sure you come back next week and don't forget to go back and watch the first 6 episodes. Next week, I want to be able to look at the dynamics of effective decision making in strategic planning. You don't want to miss that one. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and click that bell so you can turn on your reminders so you can come back next week. And I know it was a lot of information that I shared today, but don't be overwhelmed. I'm here to help. You can always visit my website, Byron-Nisbett.com, and go ahead and book a discovery call with me so that we can discuss where you are in your strategic planning and how I can help you to make sure that you get your plans going, up, running, implemented, so you can see that growth that you are hoping for. So until next time, go back and watch the other episodes, rewatch this one if you have to, and see you next week.